Deadly Tarantula Girl coming to you from my private serpentarium. Welcome! Tonight I'm doing a very important interview video. I'm actually interviewing the victim of a venomous snake bite. This just happened within the last 48 hours. This is a member of my crew and he is out of the ICU. This is JD here with us tonight and fresh out of the hospital and looking dandy, if I do say so myself. I'm going to let him tell you from his perspective what happened just a little over 48 hours ago. Take it from there.
First off, thanks for having me on the show. Second, sorry that there were no videos that came out this weekend. Unfortunately, I was in the hospital, so I wasn't able to edit any. This will be the first video we've done in a few days. And yes, if we're late getting videos out, it's my fault, and I apologize for that. I try to stay on top of it, but it's a busy life trying to work around the Deadly Tarantula Girl. Alright, we had just finished here in the zoo. And I was going outside to grab some wood because we were getting ready to set up a new cage on top of another cage. So what we do is we use wood to separate it for heat purposes and for airflow purposes. And I reached under a log. It's December in Roswell, New Mexico. When I stuck my hand in there to grab a 2x4, I felt a prick on my hand. And I was kind of surprised. I reached back and it hurt. So Marita was outside with me and I said, hey, I think I just got bit. And she said, what? So she came over with a phone light because we just had the door open to the zoo. It was really dark out. And we lifted that log up a little further and there was a little baby western diamondback sitting there, crawling away. It was sitting there, and then once we lifted it up, it started moving out of the picture. And I went, oh my God, I got bit by a venomous snake. Panic ensued. I'm like, did I just get bit? Is this the end of my life? What's gonna go on? She said, holy cow, that's a rattlesnake. We need to get you to the hospital. And she said, wait a minute, we've got that Venom Lock. So the Venom Lock is a first aid device. We just were able to pick up one of these about 6 months ago, and we ran into the house because we knew exactly where it was. It was sitting on our desk. By this point I'm really thinking, oh my God, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Am I gonna die? She ran and grabbed the box and she pulled it out, and then she read on the back and it says, not designed to treat areas below the wrist or below the ankles. And unfortunately my bite is right here, so it's below the wrist, which she was saying, I don't know. So I said, pull it out, let's put it on there. So luckily it was in a spot and my hand was big enough that I was able to get the Venom Lock over the top of the bite. The two puncture marks are about right where my fingers are. Luckily it was on the meaty part of my hand. So what we did is we got the Venom Lock on there, and it was just in the perfect spot for being able to do this. If it would have been in any other spot, I wouldn't have been able to localize it.
Or if he didn't have giant hands. If it had been my hand, we wouldn't have been able to use it.
But anyway, we got it on. Within 5 minutes, we were in a vehicle heading to the hospital. And on this trip, the Venom Lock was in place. The wounds were starting to ooze a little bit with blood. And the one thing that I really noticed was the pain inside of that Venom Lock was extremely intense. It hurt so bad, and I wanted to actually take it off because it hurt so bad. But I kept it on. We got to the hospital. I ran to the hospital, said I just got bit by a rattlesnake. And they took me directly back, put me in one of the emergency rooms. There's actually a room in the hospital called the critical care rooms, and they put me in one of those rooms. And right away they actually asked me what happened. Within 2 minutes I was in that critical care room, and I told them that I was bitten. I told them exactly what species it was. We got a good look at the snake. It was a western diamondback. There was no doubt because of the coontail. If you know the rattlesnakes in New Mexico, only one of them has, actually two species here in New Mexico have the coontail, which is the Mojave rattlesnake
banding,
and the western diamondback rattlesnake. But we don't have Mojaves here. We just have western diamondbacks. The Mojave ranges a little further south of us. So I knew exactly what it was. Deadly Tarantula Girl knew exactly what it was. So we told them, and the ER doc came in and said, "Huh, you got bit by a rattlesnake, huh?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's kind of weird." I said, "Yeah, it's December, but what we figure is we've had a couple warm days, and because of those warm days, it's a littler snake, so he probably didn't know what he was doing. Had probably gone out hunting and gotten a little bit cold and went and hid under our lumber. We've never had a venomous snake in this yard." So they got an IV started on me, and they were going to put it in my wrist, and I asked them to put it in my forearm just because I know it's more comfortable there. And within 45 minutes, they started injecting the Crofab,
which is the anti-venom.
They took labs on me because I have other health issues. They were checking out my kidneys and my heart, and everything looked good on that part. So it's very fortunate. When I started getting the Crofab, the tourniquet came off probably within 5 minutes of administering the first dose of Crofab, the anti-venom. And there was no swelling on my hand at all, just inside of where the Venom Lock was. It was really swollen. It was kind of red, kind of angry looking. Yeah, it was starting to get kind of a pussy blood leaking out. They administered 6 vials of Crofab, the anti-venom, and then the doctor came in and said, "We're going to fly you out." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, we're out of Crofab, and we're worried that maybe you'll get enough swelling in your arm to where you may have to have surgery. What they'll do is you'll get what's called Compartment Syndrome, which is when your swelling is so bad it cuts off blood flow to your limbs, and they actually have to open you up to allow blood to flow through." So once he started talking that way, I was trying to talk him out of it. I decided maybe that's the way to go.
I insisted.
So they flew me out of Roswell into Lubbock, Texas, and all the time I have to commend both hospital staff from the hospital here and from the hospital in Lubbock, Texas. They were awesome. Everybody listened to what I had to say. If I had concerns, they addressed them. Everybody. If I had a question, the doctors would stop and answer it until I was satisfied before they left, which is not common in the medical field, but they did it, and it was great. So when I got there, they checked my labs again. Everything still looked good, but they decided to administer 3 more. They administered 6 more vials of Crofab during the time I was there. Now, the first thing I ask when I get in the hospital is, how long am I going to be here? And they said, "You'll probably be here a couple days. You know, rattlesnake bites are pretty serious. You're going to need to stay here and be observed." I got bit about 5:30 on Saturday. At 8 o'clock on Sunday night, I was discharged. And the reason I think it happened so fast is because of the Venom Lock. Everybody needs one of these things. This is not something that is just for people that are crazy that keep venomous. This is for anybody that lives where there's rattlesnakes, which is almost in the entire United States.
Or works in, you know, especially oil field workers, any type of agriculture workers, people that like to recreate out where there could be venomous snakes, hiking, rock climbing, anything like that. Even in some of the city parks there are snakes, and we're not trying to scare you guys. And in general, a venomous snake is not going to come out and pursue you, especially a North American venomous snake. They're not typically as aggressive as some of the Indian or African species. However, if you reach down into some bramble and accidentally touch one and startle it, you might get bitten.
And I'm not just saying they're for the United States. There's venomous snakes all across the world, and these, you can ship a Venom Lock out of the country. If you work overseas, this was actually designed for people in the military so they could carry it with them. So if they're in the Middle East crawling through the jungles or the deserts, they get bit, they can put it on and it'll give them time to get to the emergency. So what happens is that this loculates the venom in one particular area. And that gives you time, so the venom isn't going through your body and doing the damage everywhere, to get to medical treatment so you can be treated. And it worked perfectly for me. I did not have any swelling in my arm at all until I took that Venom Lock off. And then once I did that, the venom started coming out, and then my arm swelled up. So that is more than enough proof that it did what it was supposed to do. I'm the first, as far as I know, I'm the first person that's used one of these in the field that's not a pig, because it was tested on pigs.
First human trial.
It's the first human trial, and it was very effective, and it made me a believer. So after I took that Venom Lock off, they started marking, that's what these spots are, is how my swelling was progressing up my arm. And it actually is swollen all the way up to the shoulder now, but since about 6 o'clock yesterday morning, this is Monday evening around 9 o'clock, the swelling started going down. So it only swelled up for less than 12 hours.
Well, it's still swollen, but the swelling is already reducing.
Yes.
And in my opinion, his symptoms have been relatively minimal. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't painful or he was never in danger. However, this could have been up to a level 6 trauma and it was only a level 3. And I believe it's because we were able to keep the venom kept in a vacuum until he had the anti-venom delivered into his system. And so I want to thank Dr. Hack, number one, for inventing this amazing device. And this is the most recent version. And there are types of venoms that will actually necrose your flesh. It'll like rot your flesh. And Dr. Hack designed it so if this whole area could be excised and sutured closed if that tissue in this entire area was damaged. But think about losing this small area of skin, whether it's in your abdomen or your calf, versus that venom causing damage throughout your whole body. Or there are also venoms that will attack your respiratory system. If you stop breathing before you ever make it to emergency care, well, you're gonna die. And so, I truly believe in this device. I was fortunate, like he said, all of the medical staff were amazing, including the ambulance drivers. I don't know whose decision it was, but they actually let me fly with him. And so I was there by his side the entire time. And, yeah.
Well, word of advice, I whine a lot, so that's one of the reasons she got to come with me is because I cried and I showed tears, and they said, okay, she can come.
First they said, how much do you weigh? And then I answered, and then they said, yeah, you're small enough. We think that you can ride along.
And a word of advice again is if anybody if you ever get bit by a snake and people go to evaluate you, don't go, ah! Because that scares them and then they don't want to mess with you anymore. I did that to every person and they all freaked out.
Yes.
So, but I want to thank everybody that was involved with this, including the inventor of this and the gentleman that got it out to us.
Yes.
Got it out to us, Dr. Hack, and Dana Savarelli from Tongs.com, Midwest Tongs. Without this bite could have been extremely, extremely more dangerous. Like she said, they ranked envenomations from 1 to 6. And this was ranked to 3, and I think it's only because of this, because that snake got both fangs in me, and it was a full-blown bite. The other thing is that the ER doctor that we met in Lubbock said he had heard of Dr. Hack's device, and he was telling us that there wasn't any research out on it. The reason is because people haven't used it out there yet. Once people start using it, this is going to spread like wildfire. People are going to need to have it everywhere. It's just something that you need to have if you live, especially in the Midwest. But the ER doctor was telling us that most of the venomous bites that he was getting when he was working out of Austin was coming out of a park in Austin. People were getting bit by coral snakes there. Just, you know, lay down for a picnic, stick their hand in the grass, and they get bit. So you wanna, it's not for just people, crazy people that keep venomous snakes. It's for everyday life, and it can change the outcome of any envenomation.
So again, I want to recognize and thank Dr. Hack for inventing this amazing device, and also to Dana Savarelli of Midwest Tongs for being so amazing to introduce me to this product. And I've done videos on it, and we'll link that below, talking a little bit about how to use it and kind of how it came about. And I've even interviewed Dr. Hack. And so this device is very small. You could carry it in a pocket, a bag. It's practically weightless. And if I remember correctly, they're less than $20. So if you think about the investment of $20, it never expires. So a lot of people think if you're working around venomous snakes that you should have anti-venom on hand. It's not that easy. It needs to be custom made for the type of venom, your exact coagulation counts at the time of envenomation. They actually tailor each vial to what the victim needs at that time. Also, anti-venom is extraordinarily expensive to make, over $10,000 a vial, and it expires really quickly. So keeping anti-venom on hand for venomous snake keepers or people who are possibly at risk, that's not really a viable option. This though is very easy. It's foolproof. It's absolutely simple to use. The instructions, although there's more information, come in a very simple 3-step instruction. I mean, it's just as plain as day how to use it. I don't know that you could use it improperly. The only downfall is that it really needs to have that entire surface area. So as I said, my hand or my foot would have been too small, but also the belt is only so long. So like if it had to go around his chest, it wouldn't have fit, but you can buy extender belts. The doctor who first invented this saw a lot of abdomen and back bites from military guys who were crawling through the marsh and getting bites all over their abdomens and thighs and things like that. So that's what this was originally designed for, is so they could get some type of temporary assistance while they were out in the field. So I'm not happy to announce that someone was injured in my care, but things do happen, especially when you live in areas that are inhabited by venomous snakes. I'm so pleased that he's recovering well, and that he still has a brave face on.
The other thing is that you need to follow up because there's a lot of things that can happen after the bite. You think everything's okay, and then all of a sudden your health can deteriorate. You can have what's called serum sickness, which I was told in the hospital is very rare. But because the venom affects your blood, it could take a little while for the full effects to kick in, because it will stay in your system for a while. Even
up to 3 weeks.
So you need to have the follow-up labs done to make sure that your blood's still okay. So in a week I've got to go visit my doctor and make sure that everything's still okay. But I feel good. I mean, I never, other than the panic and the pain, I didn't have any other kind of symptoms. And I don't know all of the symptoms of Western Diamondback bite, because I've known a few people that have been bitten, and they say that the pain is very intense, and that the worst it was, I would rank it at about an 8, which is not as bad as it could be, obviously. And that 8 only stayed there for short periods of time. They actually did give me some pain medication to help with that. But by 6 o'clock in the morning, they'd given me my last dose of pain medication, and I had some pain medication for the ride home because we had a 3-hour drive. And that was the last time I had pain medication. So things are going really well, better than expected or better than could be hoped for. And I think it's because of this Venom Lock.
So overall, I think that was a successful human trial.
You can see the swelling's quite a bit, but it was worse yesterday, and I can't quite close my hand yet. I figure 4 or 5 more days and I'll be able to pretty much manipulate my hand. But you see how much swollen the palm is, and luckily the doctors never seemed to be too worried about whether I was going to have surgical intervention. They actually did have surgical specialists come in and evaluate me, and they took a glance at it, and after I scared them, they said, "Nah, we think you're pretty good." So I'm really happy with the way this went. Was not a good experience for me, and especially just being outside in the wintertime and getting bit by a rattlesnake. What are the odds? But I'm glad that it was me and not somebody else, and I'm glad that the first trial run of the Venom Lock was so successful.
I do want to give a very special shout out to our amazing ICU nurses. Allie was the night nurse and he gave her heck all night long. And she was a really good sport. And then John was with us all day and he also was super fantastic. So thank you to you guys, and they both said they were going to be keeping an eye out for this video. So thanks to Allie and John, you guys were incredible.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody that was involved. Everybody was fantastic, and I couldn't have asked for a better hospital visit. Everybody treated me really good, and thank you.
Well, we just wanted to give you guys a brief explanation of why we had been kind of MIA the last few days, and also to give you this account of what occurred when we, I don't want to say we tested the Venom Lock as if we did this intentionally, but we did really test out the Venom Lock. And if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at deadlytarantulargirl@yahoo.com. You can comment below, or you can always check out the Venom Lock website. And there are videos about the device and kind of how it came about, and we'll make sure to link the website below.
So the website is venomlock.com. It's VENOMLOCC.com.
And so you can purchase this device from Dr. Hack's website, the Venom Lock website, or from MidwestTongs.com, which is Dana Savarelli's website, and he's an amazing guy too. He does conservation work and rescue, and his products are awesome. Pretty much anytime you see me picking up a tong, a snake hook, or even all of my knives are from him. Those came from Midwest Tongs, so a big supporter of his. I hope this wasn't too long and dry. We really wanted to give you guys the blow-by-blow. Well, I probably need to get this guy back in his sling and resting. So thanks for joining us for this kind of talk video. Hope you guys liked it, and we'll see you again very soon.